Hello everyone and welcome to a very special RuneScape developer Q&A. Today the focus on next Angel of Death, passion projects and a little bit of Soul Reaper sprinkled in between because of course that had a release yesterday. So I'm being joined by Mod Osborne.
Hello.
Mod Raman.
Hey.
And Mod Ryan. Mod
Hello.
Ryan, it's a pleasure to welcome you of course to the stream. So just a quick rundown, you're able to kind of summarize what you do here at Jagex?
So I'm a content developer currently working within the MTX team. As of recently, I've been working on a lot of side projects, which we're going to talk about. So we can cover that as we go through.
Yeah, of course. We'll jump into that for sure. So I'm going to kick it off with a little bit of an icebreaker project question, just to get into a project. So question here is, if time and resource were no object, what passion project would you love to get into game?
Oh, isn't yours? So you're kind of made yours.
Yeah,
You've done
just done yours.
I know. Like Mod Raman, when I first met him, was wanting to get a kind of
That was way
high level
way
boss.
back in 2013. Right?
Yeah, like had been hammering on my door trying to get something like next Angel of Death out there. So yours is your dreams come true.
I already know what I want
That's
to
it.
do
You can just
next.
kind of lie back now and just say I'm
Nah,
done.
So I do know what I want to do next, but
You have to answer it.
there's two things. Like I mean,
Ah,
I've discussed
peer
this with you, and I've discussed this with you. It's like probably Raids 2 or Floor 61.
Floor 61.
Like
yeah.
Floor 61 is a big thing, but then Raids 2 is like.
Can we put a discdisclaimer before saying any of this?
Yeah.
That
Like,
this isn't a guaranteed thing that's going to happen. It's
You've got
just,
some of the people on the sofa who are the most likely to just work away at their desks in their own free time to produce something. You're asking them what they most like to produce. It's going to be like a pitfall.
what about you, Mod Osborne?
I have been talking to you a lot about Floor 61. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm kind of passionate about seeing that through as well. But there's one quest that I've always wanted to develop for the game, and I'm actually working on that now, I guess. So that's something that I'm going to be saving up a little bit for the game jam. But I did try to ask the staff feedback on how I'm doing as lead designer. And there were 3 comments of, well, it'd be good if you'd actually made something in the game or written something for the game, which was brutally rude. But it made me think, like, yeah, I haven't actually written my own quest, and I'm hopefully going to get to work on that soon.
So obviously, Ryan, in your case, you've kind of released some stuff already. But I mean, is there anything that stands out that you'd love to do?
Yes. Do I want to say it though?
Yeah, you
Right,
may as
big
well.
disclaimer. I would like to work on more invention updates. Essentially, bigger invention update.
Just you want to say batch 2, don't you?
I want to say batch 2.
Because your biggest bugbear is like, because we talked about this as well, is that it doesn't feel like you're progressing through the skill. You want to be unlocking more.
Yeah.
There'll be a reason to train at higher levels, and I think that's something we could probably agree on.
Awesome. All right. So let's just get into it. So yesterday saw the release of additions to Soul Reaper. We had a couple of consumables that went in, some permanent effects, and obviously a little bit in between. First of all, this was a passion project from, see if I get this right, Mod Harrison, yourself, Mod Wolf, and there's definitely one more I'm missing,
Mod Days.
There you go. So I mean, how long did it take you guys to go from initial concept to getting that into game?
So originally we did see a Reddit post that mentioned, as we look at Reddit, like you see a lot of people saying, "Oh, these are some cool new rewards," and we had been talking about Soul Reaper as a whole just prior to that. So when we saw that, we were like, maybe we should have a look at what we could possibly do with this. And then I was playing with the loot beams. I think I put one tweet out. That was the only tweet I put out for this project, and I turned the gravestones into loot beams. And then following that, we kind of expanded on it, and we were like, yeah, let's make some more stuff. In terms of time it took, probably not too long. I'd say a week of development time where possible. But I was spending a lot of time after work doing it.
Yeah, I think when we tweeted out, when you tweeted out the gravestone thing, like there were like 4 of us in the office, and all of a sudden I heard just like a shout from Ryan's end of the office. It's like we all came over and saw the gravestones drop down. It's awesome.
So, I mean, what's been your personal favourite reward that you've added from this?
So the gravestone reward was mentioned in the Reddit post. One of the rewards that wasn't mentioned in the post was the Book of Death.
Yeah.
Which was an idea that we had amongst the 4 of us, and that Mod Days implemented. It's kind of like an item where, so we currently have Hydrix items from Death.
Yeah.
So we wanted another sort of similar-esque item, so we made the Book of Death, which is a pocket slot item. And the main aim of this item was like sort of like niche section where it's really good against Slayer mobs that are like the mammoths and the ones with really high HP. So hopefully that's a good sort of addition
Incentive.
for Slayer.
I remember Mod Wolf, shouting at one particular time for me to come over because they just had you've had the kind of the wow moment of the update, and it was that you'd figured out to call them Death Notes.
Oh yeah.
Because he's a massive anime fan. I was like, you brought me over for this, Mod Wolf. So hopefully that's not necessarily the highlight for everybody else, but yeah.
You do know he's watching the stream, right?
Oh yeah,
the way you've just
he's
phrased...
lapping this up.
Okay, fair enough. So obviously this was the month of January in the year ahead video was kind of mentioned as like the month of surprises.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring up trim comp. So to give full context to the situation that went on here, when we initially released this update, the trim comp requirements, which was to buy all permanent stuff.
Yeah, it's extension of
extension
the
of
previous,
stuff.
right?
That initially didn't go in. However, we hotfixed and obviously put out communications mentioning what you had to do to get the trim comp back.
Yeah.
So with 120 Slayer, there is an amnesty period.
Yeah.
Why wasn't there an amnesty period for this?
Yeah, our plan was to handle achievements and amnesties with achievement system and Menethos. It's kind of a big bundle. And this was because when we drop Menethos, there's such a huge amount of content, and we're talking like Slayer, obviously from 99 to 120 as well, that nobody could hope to get their trim comp back for a long period of time. So we planned all of this kind of policy about amnesties because we hadn't really done it much. We did a little bit with Elf City before, planned for it to hit there. What we hadn't done is looked at the content that was coming out from now until then and really thinking, should we apply that amnesty period? Because we just had this kind of moment in June that we knew we were going to start applying amnesties. So that's kind of oversight on my part, on our part. I think we're going to look at all of the kind of content that's coming up in this period that's going to, things like Shattered Worlds, things that's going to generate stuff for people to do, and then look at actually, we might start applying amnesties to those too. So for the purpose of this, we're just going to, this just kind of came out as a TAP project. We're going to start looking at future projects about that kind of trim amnesty.
Sure. All right. So I'm going to put a hold on passion projects, so we'll come to some stuff that Ryan's been working on in the lead up.
Yeah.
Obviously after that. So I'm going to move over to kind of the main event, of course, because next Monday on the 30th, we see the release of next Angel of Death. Mod Ramen, first of all, when did development start on this? And is this basically been a culmination of a long tap?
Development for this actually started back in 2013. Believe it or not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, 2013. I think I explained this last time. I really had a interest in learning to code. I jumped in the deep end, just playing with a little NPC. I think my first NPC was a thing called Wanderer, where all I did for like 2 days was change the wander range on it, so it would walk around further.
Amazing mechanics.
Yeah,
I think you're mentioning that you're not a developer.
No, I'm not.
You're a tester.
QA.
QA, yeah. Sorry, analyst.
So it actually started, like the core, the NPC was there in 2013. It went through a couple of iterations. It used to be called Tantibus. It was like a big demon. It was actually the old, one of the Calgarian demons, like blown up. And some of the core mechanics and the ideas I had from back then are still seen in Angel of Death. There are, throwbacks to that. But then I actually picked it up 4 months ago. But it had come along, like during different tap days. Sometimes I would focus on this, and other times I'd focus on other things and get some bug fixes out. But realistically, it actually started 4 months ago. But 2013 was when it
was it difficult to kind of get like a sign off for it or a green light to get it in? Because as we've said before, like stuff from tap doesn't always go in. It's just a chance for people to learn. So in regards to you, Ramen, and the Angel of Death project, I mean, was it difficult to get this signed off to go in game?
I'm not sure because I think
your criteria.
I mean, I rely on the so the combat counts are huge to me because I have a little bit of deficit in my knowledge as lead designer. I'm trying to improve that, but you've seen me fight QBD. You know that I'm not necessarily the best boss fighter in the world, and so kind of lean on the whole of the combat council to give me their opinion on it, and they were glowing about what Ramen produced. And that's when you start taking it really seriously. We're kind of cleaning up the process a little bit, so we've got a proper green light process, but for this one it was just we have to do this.
Yeah, I think more Kelby came over and was like, you know, can you get this done? Like, because my code knowledge isn't as good as like Ryan's or you know any of the other developers, and I kind of said yes. It was tight on time, like because obviously I had to learn a lot more, and you know I've relied on Modeg, I've relied on Ollie, Ryan, different people, just for different help in different areas. But
I think that's what's changed from, like, as you say, like some tap projects didn't get through a year ago, 2 years ago. What's changed is that there's a community of kind of people who are doing things in their own time. It's almost like, it feels like a golden age of like working at Jagex. I really love it because an idea springs up and then everybody else jumps on it to help. Whether that's code review or to contribute graphics, contribute testing, things like this. And so, as you heard with like Silver Jewelry and Soul Reaper, like there's 5 or 6 people involved in something because they're all together, and that's why it really does feel a bit of golden age, and why we've got the whole February theme of passion projects.
And obviously, during the countdown, if you happen to be with us at the start of the stream as we were in the countdown, we played the music from the prelude of the Next Angel of Death, which I believe has gone around about 80 versions of iterations of music.
87.
87 versions of that.
Mod Bondo must hate you.
To find,
I imagine there's an email every time. Can you add more panpipe?
When I got the confirmation that this was going to be going out sometime in January, I was like, okay, so we have to make this epic. So instantly before, he started in January or end of December, but I messaged him in September and I was like, look, this is coming up. We should start thinking about this right now. Let's make a document. And he made a document and it's like, okay, here's a couple references for the lobby music. Here's a couple references from for the actual fight music. And then it's like, oh, maybe we should take these vocals from here and like something like that, and maybe work it into something else. And
so just to confirm, that music that was released was the lobby music?
Yes.
Okay.
So the prelude is the lobby music. That is when you're in the arena and the fight hasn't yet started. When the fight does start.
Are you saving something better?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Awesome. All right, so got a couple of questions. Oh, actually, sorry, I need to bring this up because this was prior. This is what you said on the last stream. You mentioned you.
No.
You'd mentioned.
It was on the TLDR.
Yeah,
you can't deny it.
You cannot deny this, and I have to reiterate this just for everyone who might have missed this.
It's a good thing they're pretty cheap and old school, then, aren't they?
You're going to pull back ads. No, you can't do that.
I'm not having it.
So, to bring people up to speed, last stream you mentioned that you would alk your party hats on your personal account if someone had managed to solo Nex. Do you stand by this?
Players always prove us wrong, and like,
Come on!
So
you cannot do
it's
this.
such a like.
The answer is yes, he is.
Yeah, he's going to do it. We'll make sure of it.
Deal. All right. So we'll move to some questions from players that have been asking us. Pencil asks, how many players would you recommend for this fight?
Honestly, I'd recommend 5 to 7.
Are
those solid?
I reckon that'd be
solid bosses.
See, that's the thing. It's so difficult to pitch certain PVMers against something because.
How many Mod Ryans would you have? How many Shawnees?
Don't know. It caps at 50, so. Honestly, 5 to 7.
Like, now I'm going to make sure he gets it out.
So how many players can it go up to?
50.
50. Okay.
Which is really not recommended.
Why?
Because she's throwing out attacks and it will get laggy for you. It'll be like
laggy?
It'll get like Calfight King where.
Mage phase.
Calfight King, Mage phase, where it's like. Oh,
but that can hold 200 players.
That can hold 200 players, but 200 players will not survive that.
All right, and also from Pencil, where will the boss fight take place?
It's in a whole new area, but the entrance is where the old one was. It's not the same click, but there is like a little hidden door where one of the where one of the plaques was. So there is still basically it was the same plaque, just on the opposite side. You just click that, and that will bring up the instance.
So a question from Dinah Sparky who asks, are there any levels or quest requirements for AOD? There's no need to say what, just say yes or no answer would be fine.
No.
No skill,
there are
quest.
basically exactly what you use for original Nexa, Frozen Key, and Ceremonial, if that pleases you.
Gotcha. I got a couple of questions here from 5X. So I'll try and spread this out as much as I can here. Modern RuneScape bosses push more and more difficult mechanics which often require voice chat to coordinate the kills. Do you notice this trend as well? And is this going to be a case for Nex?
Yeah, we noticed the trend. I mean, I think it sort of started to pick up with original Nex, and then I remember we were on TeamSpeak with Virago, because it's like, oh, you know, you can't always rely on somebody to see that Virago's, you know, applied a bleed to someone, and if they miss it, they're going to die. Yes, we've noticed the trend, and yes, that will be the case for Nex. But like that's the good thing that's the thing I enjoy most about Team Bosses is, you know, once you've got it down, you jump on TeamSpeak or Discord or, you know, whatever, Skype with your friends, and it is a laugh. And, you know, throw back to Virago again, but we had some hilarious times on TeamSpeak when that came out.
So we used to carry Kyle through that.
Oh, yeah.
Is a 100 kill count at next Angel of Death required for the final boss title? Okay, so IFB and FB will be locked from Monday's update until you obviously relock it.
IFB will definitely be locked.
IFB will definitely be locked, okay. Chigsy asks, will there be a broadcast for the first person or team to kill it?
No.
So a one time, there's no one time.
No.
Okay, cool. I'm Rami asks, in future quest cutscenes, will Nex get her Angel of Death appearance, or will she remain as is?
She will remain as is.
So can I ask why?
I'll delve into a little bit of the story, but
yeah, we talked about this morning. Didn't we?
The place where the fight takes place is kind of like a meditation chamber for her. It's a place she draws her power from, and while she's away from it, she doesn't really have as full a connection to the area as needed. So the visual representation of her, it hasn't changed that much. It has changed on her.
It's like taking the power from the Stone of Jazz. You've got it for that moment. But when
I think we do have concept art, which we will we'll show you.
If it's suitable and we want to use the kind of power out next, and we want to use that in terms of our storyline, then we will require it. But I mean, you can imagine, like, if we do some quest content and we have to require a completion of Hard Mode Next, you know, Angel of Death. That's, for some people, that's just going to be impossible, or at least a massive obstacle.
I mean, yeah, I can understand that, but I guess it was more or less, so do you know how we've been going through some of the other quests and upgrading the models?
It's subtly different. I think you're talking a lot about kind of NPC reworks, rather than somebody who has two stages. In the storyline, they appear in two different kind of forms.
Okay.
Places where Next does appear in quests will be graphically updated after the update goes out. Basically, like we did the Marjarat.
Yeah.
Kind of just wanted to focus on the fight, make sure everything's, you know, solid with that, and then focus on other areas she appears in the game.
So I don't know if we have that concept art ready now. John, if you have it ready. Okay, there we go. So do you want to talk us through this?
So this is actually, this isn't the Angel of Death model. This is the original fight. So as you can see, she has been graphically reworked. I was trying to find a word.
She's been buffing. It's quite a shame.
She's been buffing. So bear in mind, I was checking this earlier on. You can see the wings on her change when she protects from various attack styles. We're not going to show you the actual model for Angel of Death, but we will show you a little piece of concept art. And as you can see here, this is her. You know, she's really empowered. She has a bit more armor on. She's got her harness tiara on, and that's her.
And there'll be other changes too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you can see, they're saying thick.
All right. Question from Water Coolists. Can we get some lore along with it? I believe you clarified this in the live stream, so by all means.
There are 2 lore books that come with it. It kind of delves into the story behind why she's powered up, what's happened, what events took place for this to actually happen. And then there's just a little bit into her backstory and her relationship with Torva, Virtus, and Pernix. And basically this order she sort of founded, and we call it the Prey Soul. So you'll be able to learn a bit about that order and who's involved.
It kind of cements her place a bit more in like Zaros' army.
Yeah, like she was top. So
yeah, exactly. And you understand more how she worked.
Yeah, more like a general where she has her.
And is it right that Mod Jack contributed a bit to that?
Yeah, Mod Jack, Mod KOC, like we all, the Law Council, you know.
Yeah.
That came over and checked a view. It was completely.
But there
fine.
is some mod ramen in there too.
Yeah. There's always going to be a bit of ramen.
How can players get these lore books?
You got to kill it.
Oh, okay. Is it twice or?
No. So it's a let me think.
Easy now.
If you are in the top DPS, the top 5, 6, 7, 8.
We can talk about the drops.
If you're in the top 8 DPS, you will get this as a drop, and it is a Master Questgate requirement.
Okay, there you
But that's
go.
why, like,
The guaranteed
because
drop them,
you've got to weigh it up. Like, you don't want people to farm it like a boss this hard, or I say this hard, a boss, you know, of various difficulties to some people. You don't want them to have to farm it like they do with Last Riders,
Riders.
where
We're
it's
not
really,
doing Last
really
Rider
rare.
style.
It's literally kill it, done. Like the QBD first journal.
I think we've learned from Last Riders in the way that we're giving out lore drops. I think there's going to be at least alleviation in the future for RNG.
Yeah, it'll be just like Comp Cape, like, and people, when other bosses get released, they're like, you know, I'm never going to get my Comp Cape back, but they have it back in 2 days.
Yeah.
Sorry, JD, are you able to bring the chat to live? Sorry, because it's...
Bring the chat to live. Can you bring the chat to
Not
life?
to live, so we can see it scrolling. I just couldn't see the messages, sorry. Jeffrey RS asks... Oh, God, words. Jeffrey RS asks, what is the duration of the fight likely to be?
What's it been in playtests?
15 minutes. But that's with, you know, some people, like, we're no Wooks, we're no You Got Lit Up, we're no, you know, JMJ. But, you know, we vary from 10 minutes to 15 minutes. And I expect that to be around 8 minutes on release.
Yeah. All right, that's a very... Is it... Oh, actually, a question from me. Sorry to drop this in. The Beast tab, is there are we going to include a learn, or are we going to wait a little bit?
We're going to wait a little bit.
We're going to wait a little bit. Cool.
How long is a
That's
little
tradition,
bit?
isn't it?
Until Shawnee decides to write it.
Deal. All right. The next question from I'm Blanking. Does the damage, HP mechanics, or phases of the new boss scale to the amount of people in the room, not including AoE damage?
No.
It does not scale at all.
Not her HP.
Anything else that scales?
Various mechanics.
Some other stuff
Various
scales.
mechanics will adapt to how many people are in the room. There's some safety
like that.
measures, and kind of like Virago, where if there's more than 10 people, he'll send out red bombs to 2 people.
Gotcha. Will DJ Seabass, will the AOD be only PVM related, or will there be skilling aspects?
There's no skilling.
Okay.
You weren't tempted?
What's that?
What's that?
This is the man for skilling.
Next, Umbra RS asks, is it all instance? So is it using the boss instance system, as we call it?
Yes, it's all instance. I know a lot of people were hoping it would have a base world, so they could do their, you know, next crashing and their next 1v1s, but this really isn't like OG Next, where you could have your 1v1s, or it's more, this is a team, you need roles. Because like with OG Next, like you could both DPS, and when she does tank swap, like it wouldn't matter, you could still, you know, lay down your DPS and not really lose much. Whereas this, you can't 1v1 because someone needs to tank.
So the instance creation,
Yes.
can you influence the spawn speed, or is it base?
No.
It's just base spawn speed.
It's like Virago, 1 kill out.
Sure. Okay. All right. So Red Axe Cat, will AOD Next have an instance fee? If so, how much is it?
No.
No fee to
No
go in.
fee.
And we'll have a new skybox to go with it.
Yes, but yes.
I'm not asking that just because I like skyboxes either.
What's the bun?
It's you're deep down below in the dark, and the walls are really high, so you'll be seeing more wall than you would skybox.
Okay, gotcha. Delta Slug, will next Angel of Death, next Angel of Death count for next Soul Reaper tasks?
No.
Will it be a Soul Reaper task?
Yes.
It will.
Yeah, she has her own Soul Reaper task.
Okay.
That gives the best.
So I imagine, of course, it's only going to be able to be received in a team only?
Yes.
Finn? Okay, cool. Will it be viable? Oh, so, don't know if you can answer this, but will it be viable to take melee to the fight? I don't know if you want to spoil if a certain style works or anything like that.
It's the
Careful, the G.
yeah.
The G is...
Ooh. It depends on your playstyle. If your mobility is really good and you can move around and adapt to where she is, then yes. I have actually got things where no, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that.
Oh, textbook ramen, I love it.
I'm not going to say that.
You're literally on moderation at the moment, aren't you? In this stream?
I am aware of the issue of melee and PVM, and I was actually going to talk to Ryan about it at lunch today, but Model Wolf came over and was flapping about something, but I didn't get a chance, but we're going to be
Whenever
talking
we
about
try
it.
to do one.
I have a really good idea for something.
All right.
Love you, Wolf.
Gonna move over to some reward questions. Obviously, feel free to shoot down anything you
Smack
don't want to
you
answer.
down.
Let's go from this. Giovanni, 1996. How are drops going to work? You've been going back and forth on this
Yes.
a lot. How is this going to work?
This is probably one of the most difficult things that I actually encountered in this project. It's getting a sense of players feeling rewarded while not rewarding everyone, while also rewarding roles. It not being unfair and elitist like some Virago teams where they will only take roles just because they get a role on Vitalis. So with all that in mind, I sat down with Timbo. I sat down with Timbo. I sat down with Deg, and we were like, okay, what is good, what is bad? So there was actually a poll on Reddit that said the Rise of the Six system kind of works the best because everyone gets their own unique loot. So the way we've done it, and if it doesn't really work, then we'll look at it on release, we'll tweak it, we'll try and find I'm happy to say that.
Spot or something.
Like, we'll find the sweet spot essentially. We'll see if it works. But the roles, so the top two my cheeks. The top two people who tanked her the most will roll on the table. Then the next three highest DPS, and then that's one drop table, and that's for a nice drop. And then there's the participation table. My cheeks are hurting now. Then there's the participation table, which the next 5 people will roll on.
Okay.
So if you're taking the adequate amount of people, so 5 to 7, everyone's going to be able to roll on a drop. So they're not going to go in and they're not going to be like a DPS of Virago where, I didn't get lucky, I didn't get any of the 5. I didn't get any of the 5, so they're not going to feel unrewarded. If you go in with the same amount of people it's aimed at, then you're going to get something. Obviously, we can't reward people. We can't reward everyone in there, so that's why it's capped at 10. Otherwise, we're just like injecting into the game, and that's obviously something we don't really want to do.
All right, Brand X12, can we get a rundown on the new prayers, or at least a hint at their nature or level? That's the first question. I'll come to another one after that.
What can you drop? Go on.
Originally, I did really want to keep this one secret and back because obviously in the BTS we were like,
This is the
something
kind of reward we've never seen before. Yeah.
And then zoom in over my
zoom
shoulders.
on your PC.
Look at his action bar, and then
it was deliberate.
So I'm happy to say, really now they're out there. So they are level 99.
99 prayers.
Yeah.
All 3?
All 3 are level 99. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And they are a stronger version of Turmoil, Anguish, and Torment, but they replace your overhead slot. So yeah, you'll get the people who are like, flick in between. Now they're going to be flicking Soul Split into Turmoil and then back into. The names are actually, Desolation,
Okay.
Malevolence, and Affliction.
It went through many naming.
Oh, it's the naming convention.
Malevolence, Affliction, and Desolation. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, well, there you go. Level 99 prayers. How difficult was it kind of coming up with the boundaries? Because obviously you needed something that's going to be a thing to go for. Well, actually, speaking of which, first of all, are these going to be a drop and then you get them, or are they given to you straight away when you get the kill, or?
Raids Codex style. So
Codex
a
unlock.
book. You take the book, you're like, okay, which one do I want? Which one do I want to go for first? If you're an Iron Man, you'd pick whichever one you want and you have to get the next one. But you basically pick it, it degrades, so you'd have to get 3 or buy 3.
So it's tradable.
But they're not as rare as Reprisal.
Right. Okay.
Which Reprisal is somewhat ridiculously rare and costly. So.
Okay. All right. So there you go. 3 prayers, as I'm sure many of you eagle-eyed viewers watching the Year Ahead video knew about, but a bit more.
Yeah.
What?
Was that a
Didn't
prayer
mean
pun?
to do it, but it was good.
That
an
was a
eagle eye.
prayer pun.
Eagle Eye's a prayer, mate. That was really good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Primal Moose, will AOD be dropping any armor or weapons? Just so yes or no will be enough.
No.
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 Okay. So we just talked about the new prayers. Can you recommend any? Are they situational or like you kind of just mentioned how you'd be switching in between? But I mean, what are some good situations you could see it for?
Slayer. So sometimes Slayer, Virago, like Virago, where you're a DPS and you're like you just don't really have anything on because the blue bombs aren't hitting you. She's not like he's not hitting you. So you're literally there. You're standing there. Nothing's coming at you. So you can literally put this on and just go ham. Slayer. If you're confident enough and you have you combine this with the vampirism aura, you'll be able to maximize your DPS. If you're confident enough that you can survive, if you've got Enhanced Excalibur or you've got Rocktails, things like that. Places where you won't really want to have to rely on Protect from Magic, Protect from Summoning, Soul Split, things like that. Wrath, if that tickles your fancy.
Are there any new cosmetics to be expected with this?
Yes.
Leave it at
You
that.
shake your head and say yes.
They are awesome.
Are you going to leave it at that?
Yeah.
Fine. Cool.
Okay.
Titles?
No.
No tiles?
No
Oh,
titles.
that's a little disappointing. I thought it'd be a cool little title or something to go with.
There's a few people saying dead content because no weapons or armor. So I think they should just wait,
Yeah.
just see.
Okay.
There's stuff there that's worthwhile.
Gotcha. And then I guess we mentioned IFB. I know it is kind of IFB tradition to release drop rates and thresholds if there are any. What is it?
There is a pet. It's pretty rare, but you all roll on it. So the top 5 people will roll on the pet. So there is no, let me tank just so I can roll on Vitalis. There is literally, you're in that kill, you're in the top 5, you roll.
So to reiterate what I said, because it's IFB, it's normally tradition, as far as I'm aware, to release the drop rate and the threshold if there is any.
3,000.
Fresh?
So it's not as harsh as Virago.
Fresh?
1,000.
Drop rate.
Okay, so 1,000 fresh.
Go hard or go home.
1 in 3K drop
I mean,
rate.
the people who have currently got in the same final boss are, they will camp things, and they like.
Wow. This is all right. There you go. So I'm gonna pull it there for next. We're gonna come over to passion projects because obviously there's a fair bit to talk about here, and this is something even I can join in with, which is nice.
Are you going to be there? Oh, of course you're going to be there.
You put on the email.
Yeah, I know.
All right. So before we jump into some questions from the players, Molas one, can you kind of take us away with what's going to happen in February with Game Jam and what players?
Yeah, absolutely. So 17th to the 18th, 19th, 20th, we're going to be doing a Game Jam weekend. That means that staff are going to come in, there's going to be music playing, there's going to be pizza to be eaten, and we're going to be collaborating on some projects that we want to be kind of harbouring ourselves that we've always wanted to work on, but also a number of projects that have been suggested by players on Reddit. So these are high impact stuff. We've already got that. Sorry, it's not only the Reddit, is it? It's also on the forums.
Well, yeah.
If you do want your ideas to be kind of put up there by us, put out there for us to look at, and Kelpie and I will be filtering that a little bit for the team, so that not everybody has to read hundreds of posts, but we'll be filtering that. So if you want to get involved as players, get on those threads. I don't know if you've got links to them.
JD's getting the links
so we can
now.
put those
Cool.
in the chat. Contribute your ideas. Admittedly, they're going to skew towards the small, but as we saw with Rune Lab, some of the most impactful ideas are smallish. Yeah. So, Rune Dragons came out of that. There was some, farming timers, etc. There was some really good stuff, Slayer Belt. So I want to see similar things. I want to see some great fixes in there.
You're getting involved as well, aren't you?
I'm getting in there. Yeah. I've forgotten her mod name. Mod.
Krista.
Yes.
Mod Krista.
It's Mod Krista.
Yes.
The hint was in the name. So we're collaborating on a quest. This is one of the quests that I've always wanted to put into the game, and Yeah, we're kind of feeding off each other in our love of similar games. Things like Her Story, Day of the Tentacle. It's kind of really narrative-driven stuff, and it kind of feeds off that a little bit. So we're doing that. But yeah, it's a lot of the people who've been working on passion projects that are going to be launched in the next month or two are also coming together for that game jam, and we're just going to get a kind of a log of stuff that we want to put out over the coming months, and slowly trickle them out.
Sorry, I want to go back to Rama very quickly. Hey, I remember you. I swear you tweeted this. I might be going crazy. You've been taking pictures of the dev process.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about that? And so, first of all, what your plan is for this? Because I'm really intrigued by this. Actually,
I don't know if you've ever watched. Is it? Who's the guy that renovates houses? Like the TV show. Like basically at the end,
kind of a time lapse.
Yeah. So what he does at the end, he gives them a book, and then it's like, oh, here's all the stages of the house you built. So here's when it first started. So I kind of like did that with that intention in mind to like just make myself a little book, just because like this project does mean an awful lot to me. Like it's combining my biggest passions into one thing. So I did that, and then I looked at the folder today, and it's got a lot of screenshots from different phases of the project, like when she was first in her placeholder environment, and when she was a big demon, and when different wall kits started to come in with different tones and different colors, and like where Modder AOB has like commented and written on things and feedback on how a texture should work. So I've got all that saved, and I think I put together a little like slideshow or little video for players this thing. I don't know. Look at all these Bible thumps.
yeah, because you can tell the genuine passion. It's really awesome.
But yeah, so
when are you looking to put that out?
When it's out.
Obviously when it's out, yeah.
Yeah. Probably a little bit afterwards, so I can.
You're right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna burst into tears.
I want the soundtrack over the top as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of flip book with Mod Bond's hits.
Oh,
Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On.
Oh, stuff from your playlist, yeah. Britney Spears and Twilight.
Don't tell them that. But yeah, so I put together a little slideshow or something.
Oh man, that's awesome. No, I this is what I love the most. Like genuinely, no joke. That's what I love the most about doing this kind of stuff is where people just get.
And you're seeing it more and more, aren't you?
Yeah,
that's what I love about it. That's why I wanted to jump on the bandwagon myself, because everybody's just like really putting it out.
Just stuff that they work on.
Producing awesome stuff.
All right, so you mentioned just going back to Game Jam.
Yeah.
Are we expecting to see stuff from that added into game?
Yeah, hopefully so. Yeah, I mean, as with all passion projects, personal projects, it's still going to go through a vetting process. If we just threw everything into the game in the state that it was finished, there'll be problems for the long term of the game. It's got to be, really benefit the health of the game, be quality stuff. But we're getting better at it. We're getting better at knowing exactly what it is that will suit the game. The guys know what I would chuck out or say no to.
So
they're knowing how to play me.
We have had this. We had a load of projects previously. We took them to Dave and some others. We showed them off, and then they were like, nope, we don't like this one. And it's like, okay, fine, we'll go back to drawing board.
So how was it getting Silver Jury into game in November?
Silver Jury isn't.
Silver Jury had the benefit of already being okayed by Old School as well, so that had that brand of actually this is good enough for their game, it's good enough for our game also. I mean we've cancelled things in the past. There were Goo Monsters quite recently that we would have loved to have done these Goo Monsters. So can we talk about that?
I don't think it's even worth it because we cancelled it, and that's why I wouldn't.
It's a good example of cancelling that we do.
Example of passion
but like jellies, you've got your jellies. The idea of stacking on another, building on that race, the story of them. Another one that was basically this bubble of goo that had kind of all the treasure that you could get from it inside of it. It was nice conceptually, but it wasn't wowing us. The mechanics weren't quite there, and the rewards we could take for something else. Yeah. So it's got to really impress. But and. What we're going to do after the Game Jam is just highlight those ones that we really like and just let players know that we're going to release them over the course of a couple of months.
All right, so two pretty cool questions here from 981. What are the typical goals and scope of a passion project?
I would say there is no scope because it's your passion. So you decide, you choose exactly what you want to make, and you go for it.
I found a common thing with a lot of these passion projects. If we're going to get down to this gritty, it's like a lot of the guys and girls who are working on this are like they just want something simple in game that would benefit people, not like complex rules, whole new systems, bolt-ons to the game. It's about filling out what's already there, giving additional reward for what's already there, and largely the stuff they like playing.
Yeah.
So,
you can, that's how it goes down.
You know,
Skybox.
Yeah, we're all typecasting. Yeah, Mr. Skybox.
I just love adding skyboxes and filters, because why not? And the other question on top of that, the upcoming quest in February was cited as a passion project from mods Helen and mod Nexus.
Yes.
Quests are known to require significant development time and resources. Is this the exception to the rule, or can these projects grow given time and support?
The second. So
it can be said about Next, actually. Given the time and support.
An awful lot of support from people like ninjas and other graphical resources.
Yeah, not to do a disservice to Nexus and Helen, they actually did do the majority of dev work on it. They're both developers. It was more, it did need some graphical work, obviously needs testing, things like that, and they got it to the point where it was finished from a development point of view. Obviously you want to give feedback on it and tweak it, but then the graphics comes in and then the development extends a little bit. But as a wee note about it, we're going to tell you that there's going to be a quest in February, but we're going to keep it a complete surprise until launch. So the topic of it, we're not actually we're going to stay stum.
I'm really enjoying this period, in RuneScape releases.
So actually I'm going to use this as a general question just to ask. So obviously we went from a year where we were very upfront with stuff that's coming out, and now obviously at the start of this year we've announced some stuff. We've kept other stuff a complete surprise. We kept Memorial to Gothic surprise 1 day before its update. Yeah. And then we had, of course, the Soul Reaper update, which came in yesterday.
Yeah,
I mean, how has the perception been from internally?
Internally from this?
Yeah.
I think we've always wanted to do this. I think actually, if you talk to developers, they'd rather their things were surprises.
Yeah.
Then players can come across things naturally, organically, and they go, oh my god, you get the wow moments rather than having those wow moments spread over weeks. But there is a negative to that in that you don't necessarily know what's going to come out next month. Why should I bother sticking around? Yeah. You still have to hype, you still have to tease, and I think there is some real benefits to teasing as well. That means you get player feedback. I think Expansions has a good mix. So if you're talking about the things that are going to have real impact on the day-to-day life of the game, things like Slayer to 120, Slayer Dungeon, the shifting teams, things like that, it's best to open up early, admittedly get people hyped, but also get the feedback so you can iterate it.
But even when you announce it on stage at RuneFest, say expansions of Menethos, people know that's coming, and then they know we're going to be talking a little bit about it, but with Menethos definitely.
Yeah, you've got to have a bit of excitement.
Don't want to throw it all
and plus, I don't want to stand on a stage and just go, hey guys.
Making stuff.
We're making some things. Soon TM. See you later. And maybe a wink and then drop mic.
So a nice little question here from MMR Assassin. Assuming that Game Jam will be solo projects, what does this mean for content that require animation or audio?
Yeah, they can still have that. Sorry, was the question...
So would they still get support?
They'd still, yeah,
but
absolutely.
Would that kind of impact how it gets in?
It would be subtly different in terms of... so animation and graphics tend to react. They tend to wait for a piece of content and then produce the content for it. We've seen very few projects that have started from a modeler has produced something, then it goes on. So content that requires animation and modelling will have to wait until that resource is available, so it might come in a little bit later. But otherwise, damn right, if it's good, we'll do it.
All right. So what kind of... So you kind of mentioned, you said small projects.
Yeah.
What kind of wild examples could you throw out that can be considered small?
I don't necessarily want to... so the smaller it is, the more likely we'll be able to take up and do it.
Sure. The
more impactful it is, and universal it is, the more players it affects positively also is a factor in it getting made. It's just that, So what is a small update? I would say your top end is Runite and Adamant Dragons, I'd say. Okay. Would you say?
Yeah, I think something that's worth definitely saying is that sometimes an update may look small and the work behind the scenes, there's a lot. And on the flip side, there is also some updates that look a lot larger than the actual dev work is. It is hard to, it's hard to put into categories as such.
Yeah. I guess what we're trying to say is send us the idea anyway and let us judge.
And I'm going to use that as a chance for JD to pop the suggestions thread in the chat. If you guys have any ideas that you'd like to see us work on, of course, it'll be filtered down, etc.
I mean, so many of the personal projects, passion projects that we've released so far: Silver Jewelry, Soul Reaper 2. So the
Upcoming, which we're about to get to.
To be honest,
we're about to get to
from
it now.
Reddit and forums.
And we're about to get to Ryan's project that was mentioned in the Year Ahead video, of course, in February, which is Invention Tools. I remember you doing a tweet/post back in August with this, I believe.
Yeah.
How has it been trying to balance 2 new tools? And are there going to be any new perks or anything like that? Like,
yes.
by all means.
So yeah, the first time I spoke about it, I think it was back in August maybe.
It was late August.
Yeah, so, because that was the first thing that I started working on when I had the time. Why that? Just from because you play the game a lot. Yeah.
So why did you want to jump on that? I mean, a lot.
How many times have you maxed? How many accounts have you got maxed?
Only 2.
Only 2.
But no, I'm just curious because I'd love to hear why.
So, I think the reason I started working on that originally was for invention. I mean, we look at it in game right now. There's two sides to training invention right now. You obviously have your combat side and your skilling side. Now, combat is quite global. You can use various weapons, and for skilling, it was limited at the time. It was the 3 skills at the time.
Back
so
in August, it was
mining.
No, mining was in September.
Mining in September. Okay, so it was just woodcutting and fishing at the time. So mining came along, and I felt that realistically it'd be nice to have more skills, right? The choice of fire making and smithing was more of a.
I think that's the first reveal we've had as well.
He did when his first ever tweet on it. He had very placeholder pictures and a placeholder name.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
fire making and smithing.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember. I think that we had a discussion and we decided on fire making and smithing. However,
I think it was wanting more manufacturing rather than resource gathering.
Yeah, obviously there is as many. We could do it for every single skill, and it's hard to how do you pick which skills. So, but I went with smithing and fire making in this case. And to answer your question, yes, there are new perks. There's 5 new perks, 2 of which players know about. Which
ones do they know about?
Oh god, I bet
Clue
it's
scroll.
Right. Okay,
And disassembly.
Yes.
Clue scroll is the one that excites me the most.
So that's this perk can be used on any tool, including the current 3, and it'll allow you to obtain clue scrolls while skilling. And then the other one is the disassembly one, which it's got multiple ranks, but when you're essentially smithing, it'll automatically disassemble the item you smith. So when you get the highest tier version of this perk, you can essentially make, say, adamant axes, and it automatically disassembles them, so you don't have to do it after.
Will they work with Crystal Tinderbox and the? I've had a complete brain fart. The hammer. Yes.
Yeah. So, yep, you can augment the crystal versions of the 2 tools.
Nice.
And the perks work the same on those.
So will there be an additional chance to save then with the crystal ones? Because I believe the crystal ones have a bonus effect, right?
Yeah. So the crystal effects will still work as does the fishing, the crystal fishing rods effect, and the degradation that normally applied to the tool, it comes in divine charges.
Awesome. So the other 3 perks, are they skilling related as well?
Yes.
They're skilling related. Okay, cool. All right, we won't spoil that unless you want to. It's really your call.
Feel free to let this one more out.
Can I do one?
Yeah,
it's on you, mate.
It's your thing.
Okay, there's one perk that is specifically only to fire making. It's called Pyromaniac, and essentially it
helps you get burned faster.
There is a chance that when fire making logs on a bonfire, that it'll automatically throw your entire backpack on the fire, so it burns all at once.
Procs the whole inventory, doesn't it?
So I imagine that's pretty useful for skilling pet as well, then, because you get a bigger chunk of XP.
Does actually.
No, of course it does. All right, awesome. So that's your 3rd perk as a little heads up for everyone. So in regards to passion projects themselves, I mean, they're obviously great fun to do because, especially more so if you can get them into game to have that impact from like that side of things.
I want people who have worked on it to be in front of the cameras, and to kind of have their name attached to it. If they want to,
just drag them all.
And that means that more developers might want to get involved. Because it is a great sense of reward to have people, as long as it goes pretty well, to have people's feedback and appreciation. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to move on to some more other and general questions. 5X asking, when can we expect Beastmaster and Yakamara pets? I guess this falls to me. That's a me question.
Is this one of your personal projects?
No, so this was, the pets were done by Mod Stu just before he left, which was a really lovely little thing for him to do. And I believe Mod Chambers, is his mod name, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, he's been helping out as well. They were actually done, but I've just offered to help plug them in, just kind of help set it up. We're waiting on pet chat, Deg's glorious pet dialogue that he's looking to do. And then when that's done, it's a matter of testing and making sure that I haven't broken anything.
Let's not. I'll put a fire under him. Let's not let chat stop this from going out.
No, it's not. It won't take long. It's fine. It's not going to take long.
Deg works well under pressure.
Right. Okay. So if we're looking at dates, I hate giving dates away unless I'm absolutely certain, but I'd like to get out sooner rather than later because it's raid pets. They're awesome. Pork You Pine, is there an ETA on the 15-year veteran cape? He's been involved in this, I know that, and so have you.
It will be out in time for people getting their 15 years.
There you go.
And is it it's heavily influenced by a certain piece of concept art that was chucked onto Reddit and the forums?
Okay.
So you dig that one out.
Hashtag Deeperino. Any hope for us being able to add more perks to augmented items with only the regular amount active at a time?
No is the short answer. There is more to it, like one technically and two from a design point of view. That's probably a lot to discuss right now. Yeah. There is a reason behind why augmented items have a certain amount of perk slots, and the reason why you can only have certain perk combinations because there is a overall balance between it all. In terms of what they're saying though is they'd like to have more on a weapon or tool, but only allowed to have like 2 active at the time.
Yeah.
That is more a technical thing in terms of storage for each item. But as I mentioned at the beginning, I do want to do invention stuff in tap. So I would like to do something there, but there's nothing more I can say on that at the moment.
Mario Sonic asks, any news for the Clue Scroll rework?
Not any more news. We're aiming for the first half of this year. Okay. That's what we said when we came out at the start, and it's still true. We just got a kind of the ninjas need a couple more developers in there. We're kind of looking for developers. So if any of you are good at coding and fancy joining us,
that was all right.
Please do. But once that's resolved, that's the only thing that's holding us up.
All right. And also, unless anyone wants to jump in here, Rama, is there anything you want to say that I might have missed or haven't covered that you want to go through, or?
No.
He's getting all of them.
I know.
No, it's
He's
not
paralysed with fear about what's going to happen. But
so yeah, like
be.
Obviously, I may as well touch on that point. Obviously, this is my first project, and as I said earlier, it's like combining all my passions. So when it goes out, I'm not going to do a knee-jerk reaction at everything, at anything. Sorry. I'll see how it goes, and then if there's anything that doesn't really quite work, then I'm going to iterate it and make sure. I want to get it to the point where it's there.
Yeah.
Like.
I mean, this is your baby. You can guarantee that Raman is going to stay with it and make sure it is perfect.
Yeah.
We'll listen to the feedback and adjust it over the course of the weeks.
Yeah. Modsters used to describe Araxor as my baby because that was my first solo lead QA point.
QA
project
I don't ever want
as
to
a
imagine
boss.
that, by the way.
What?
Araxor is.
But yeah, so like now this is like my full-on development.
This is you.
Scary stuff, but I'm really excited.
I missed this because it's not on here, but I just thought about it. The pet overrides, yes or no?
Yes.
It can be overridden?
Yes.
Nice.
On
okay.
watch.
Yes.
There you go. Missed that one, but I'm just glad I remembered it. Ryan, is there anything you want to chuck in at all? Guys, anything that's covered?
Probably, so it's Game Jam. Any ideas? I'd like to say no matter how big, but try and keep them on the small side would be good to get them from the players. Because there is going to be quite a lot of us in for Game Jam. We want to make exactly what the players are looking for.
Yeah. I think it's also worth mentioning the Game Jam weekend isn't only the Game Jam weekend. Just like to reiterate that, hey, that is a double XP weekend. That's hurt a number of our developers, actually, like massively. The people who are coming into work that weekend are probably the ones who would have benefited most from it. We are giving a wee treat for those who are doing the Game Jam.
You didn't get back to my email when I asked you about that.
Yes, you will get it.
Thank you.
Don't worry, you will get it.
Cool.
Talk about PMod.
All right. Osborne, anything you want to jump in with?
No. So yeah, get some games while we watch us live. We're probably going to be doing a couple of live streams over the course. That's the aim. But more details as we know.
When we get a little bit closer to time, we'll have.
So you can second screen us as you're doing your summoning.
Actually, Ram, I'm sorry, because I keep wanting to end it, but I just keep having questions that come into my head I want to ask. First of all,
That's right.
obviously, it's moved into RC, release candidate.
Yes.
How's that going for you? Is there anything that's worried you, or are you actually happy?
He's all right.
So thankfully, the only thing that have actually come back to us is. Ooh, I almost messed up there.
Okay.
The only thing that came back to us is typos.
Okay, fair enough.
And that's it.
Just typos.
Which is really good to see, and it's only actually gone into the RC build today, so they might not have got stuck into the fight yet, but it's a good sign.
Awesome. Obviously, I think the main thing is that anyone who's streaming it, we will be watching. Similar to obviously when Telos came out back in June.
Just to see if they solo it.
And that's the key thing. That does lead us on to the most important point, in a way. Just as a reminder for everyone, Molraman has promised to alk his party hats if anyone manages to solo next AOD.
Oh, let's go.
And I'm going to drag you in here, sorry, and say that if it does happen, we're live streaming it.
We're definitely live
so
streaming.
you are trapped on that one. So that'll definitely happen. But just to summarise, of course, what has happened this stream. Of course, we went through the Soul Reaper release. Happened yesterday, so get stuck in and get any of the new stuff involved there. Just one thing from me, I love the new cost for the aura refreshes, personally.
Oh, yeah, that's actually, I will just quickly
Yeah,
mention
by all
it
means.
because it isn't mentioned in the news post, but essentially we reduced the cost of the aura refreshers and Death Steel because they were just too expensive to begin with, and they are actually a reasonable price now where doing a task per day, which is your Reaper assignment, you can earn yourself an aura refresh, which is definitely useful for a boss.
All right, yeah, there you go. And then, of course, moving on to next AOD. Its release date is on the 30th. There is a treasure trove of some information throughout the stream if you want to watch it back, either on
Particularly the
YouTube
prayers.
or on Twitch. So prayers are obviously the big one, but there's obviously some more being hidden somewhere along the way.
Just want to highlight the fight. Like,
Yeah, of course. You don't want to spoil the fight,
yeah.
of course. I mean, the same with Telos, right? Because Telos was just, you just saw it, but you didn't know how the fight went. And then, of course, we moved over to Game Jam and then the Passion Projects that Ryan himself has been involved with, of course. Ram and you with AOD. And just Game Jam, the stream that you were looking to get involved with yourself.
Osborne's Quest as well. That's a passion project.
Yeah.
No, I'm really
Read my
interested to see
words.
how it goes and how far you get with that.
Yes.
It's going to
Yeah,
be pretty
looking forward
awesome. But apart from that, ladies and gentlemen, as always, we will be watching everything we can and replying to everything we can because next Monday is going to be rather big day. I think that's safe to say.
Did you say
I'm not
next
trying to.
Monday?
I'm not trying to put pressure on you at all.
I missed the joke.
No, you said next
okay.
Monday. I got it.
That was an excellent joke.
Yeah.
We're back at this again.
I'm not trying to put any pressure on you or anything, but it's a pretty big day, obviously. So it's going to be an awesome one to say the very least. But I mean, any final words in regards to just the project itself?
Yeah, I've loved doing it, and it definitely won't be the last. Like, as I said,
I've watched you literally the last 2 weeks. I've watched you be gone from like incredibly hyper and then being like, oh no, but what about this? And then just like the moods have kind of shifted.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
It's
to
very
see.
a shifting mood. But as I said earlier, I've already wanted to talk to Ryan about an idea I have next. So,
All right, ladies. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. So thank you so much for joining us. And well, in regards to streams, I'll be back on Friday going through some of the stuff coming up in the game update, but not spoiling anything to do with next. Sorry about that, because we've got to keep it a bit of a surprise. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for watching us. Take care and have a good one.
Cheers.
thank you.